Hi everyone. Faustina and I have decided to give a voice to recent killings in America, especially that of George Floyd. His killing is cowardly, it is unjustified, and it is indefensible. You see, killing one person affects all of us. And this is a principle I want us to understand because our attitude to one person affects our attitude to the rest of every other person. So one person is not insignificant. It is a huge debt on every one of us. So until we are conscious and aware of this very principle, we won't have a better society. We won't have a civilized world. Currently, the world is not civilized because if you look at the way we are killing ourselves and killing people, regardless of color, it is totally unjustified. It doesn't show we are growing, it doesn't show we are improving. So I am giving this voice today to tell some of these cynics and people who are killing people that it is totally unjustified. It affects everyone because your very attitude to one person affects the other person. Look at this very principle again. You see, no one can do everything, but everyone can do something. So we are contributors to everything in life. So I want us to understand that nobody is insignificant. Nobody should be, deal in this particular manner on which George Floyd was treated. It means we've been treated all the same way. All human race have been let down. All human race have been, put down in this way. And that is why when I look at it, I look at myself in the mirror. Is it right? Obviously, it's not right. No matter his offense, he's not supposed to be treated the way he was treated. Assuming I was this George Floyd, how would I have felt? Assuming George Floyd was your brother or sister, how would you have felt? It is very bad. If we want to move forward as a society, we have to understand that our lives matter. We have to understand that each life matters, regardless of who it is, regardless of the path, regardless of the color, regardless of the faction. The person's life matters.
You know, Emeka has said it all. For me, it's been usually when things like this happen, I try to protect my mind. I try to protect my emotions and everything. I've been seeing the videos. I try as much as possible not to watch it. Even when I watch it, I try not to put the audio because I know it's gonna affect me so deeply. And this thing has continued to happen time after time, time after time. We all rise up now, we talk, we, protest and everything. And then in the next 2, 3 months, this happens again. And it makes me wonder, why is it that the life of a black person is so worthless in a society where that claims to be civilized? I can't understand it. The Western world, America, UK, Europe, claim to be civilized. But these actions is an indictment on humanity itself, on whoever calls, the organizations, United Nations, Red Cross, all these, all the charities and all the organizations and all the powers, all the so-called democracy, countries, nations, leaders. We have to put this to a stop. It's not just, within this pandemic now, we have seen several images and videos coming out of from China to any part of Asia, to Europe, to even in Africa. Black life has not mattered, regardless of your status as a black person, regardless of your achievement. In a second, anybody feels entitled to control and take your own life, and oftentimes they go scot-free. It touches me so deeply as a black woman, as a black as a wife to a black man, and as a mother to black children. it touches it is a big worry. Several times, so many times, I wake up in the night thinking, how am I going to protect my children? How am I going to protect my husband physically, psychologically, and spiritually? How? What will I do to protect them? And this is not, we, as a black person, I'm not supposed to be thinking this because of my color. As a society, as a world, this this should be another time. Let these people who have been killed unjustly simply because of their skin color, let this be the end of this. Let every power, wherever you are, whether you're a leader of a country, whether, everybody should this time stand up and condemn this and make sure that these perpetrators receive the adequate punishment that they that is, deserving of this offense. And I don't know myself, my heart bleeds. I've been hurting since 2 days, 3 days now. It's so painful. We cannot continue our world like this. We cannot continue like this.
My message to the officer and the intending perpetrators, I want to let you know that the ground has shifted. This is no longer a business as usual. We've been tolerating this in the past, but the world is not ready to tolerate this kind of callous killing, this kind of, uh, this kind of killing whereby you choke somebody to death. For what reason? Even when the person is crying out, you couldn't have sympathy. You couldn't realize, look, I'm doing this to myself. The ground has shifted. If you look at the responses and the feedback coming out from the deaths, the disenchantment, we will now begin to understand that, look, we have to do things differently. We have to look at things differently. You see, we have to use this opportunity to build ourselves, dust ourselves, and change our mindset and begin to understand that what affects one person affects every other person. We cannot do things alone. So you need another person. So I am saying today, please listen to your heart. Breathe in when you want to do something like this, so that we can have a better world, so that we can live a reward better than we met it.
We are sending our condolences to the families of George Floyd and everybody, all the people who have been killed unjustly just because of their race, on their skin color, any part of the world. And my heart also goes to all black families, black, African American families, and black British families, because even in Britain here, we are also facing the same challenge of, unjust police brutality against, you know, our people. We need to take solace in the huge support that, what my consolation is that there's a huge support from our friends and our brothers and sisters who are from the other races, especially the white race people who are against racism. I have seen a huge surge of support this time that I've never witnessed before, and that is my hope for humanity, that there are still good people. That is the consolation that we're going to get from this, that there are still good people. There are still good people who are standing up for the right thing, and there are still good people who want to put their neck forward and say, no, we must stand for the right thing. And these are the people we have to look up to and say thank you. And the huge support, the consolation also is that we have found out that George, even though he never deserved to die, but his death has given hope to humanity. So he hasn't died in vain. There's a huge out pouring
Correct.
of support, from especially the white people, which is what people we have been calling for. So the number of white people who this has awakened their humanity to speak out, unlike before. is enormous, and I appreciate that. I hope that this energy that this has brought will begin to, trigger, a kind of I don't know what to call it, a kind of movement that will make it not acceptable in any way, so that anybody who is a racist, they will begin to crawl back under the rock wherever they were crying out from, so that the society will begin to stand up and make it not fashionable to be racist. If you are racist, you are not accepted. And this, I'm saying this to the good white people, to our good friends, to our friends and brothers and sisters who are white people. It is good that you people are standing up now. You people are beginning to see what we have been saying. Several times when a black person is killed unjustly by the police, the first thing we hear is we don't know all the stories, we don't. But now the work of the police is to, arrest somebody. If somebody is a criminal, arrest and charge to court. It's not in the hands of the police to implement whatever judgment they perceive. And that is the angle I've been talking and saying and pleading with the white people, that it is in your hand to stand up to your own people and tell them this is not right and it's not acceptable. Because these actions that continue to happen, these things that continue to happen, is an indictment to your so-called civilization. It is an indictment to the so-called technology or revolution or capitalism or whatever we think is a growth or development that the world has achieved. We cannot be talking about climate change. We cannot be talking about animal rights. We cannot be talking about any other rights when fellow human beings are being killed, monitored, oppressed, and chained simply because of their skin color. We cannot continue this way. We cannot continue this way. Just recently here in the UK, we saw how the police, for no reason, tasered a black man in front of his child. In front of his child. How can you, a police officer who has sworn to protect and serve, will come up and just kill a man who is not even resisting? You have already handcuffed him, you've put him under restraint, and you went ahead to make sure you snuffed out life from him cold-bloodedly. That is an indictment to entire humanity, and that is an indictment to the white race, to the white people. You have to, stand up and take this upon yourself and make sure that it stops, and protect your fellow, your friends and brothers and sisters.